So, just trying to survive the pandemic. I think that's everyone right now. I'm evolving, doing things a little bit different. I'm a chef by trade. I have a serving spirit, so it just kind of fits with my line of profession. I did have a brick and mortar restaurant. I closed it in 2020 due to COVID. So now again, just trying to rebuild and kind of rebrand and heal with some things that's also gone on with my life, simultaneously with giving up the brick and mortar and stuff like that. And so that's why I wanted to share that even with losing material things, it's still a loss, and you still have to heal from that as well. So so a loss is a loss, and healing is healing. So
yeah, thank you for sharing that. Now she's being bashful, just gonna be honest with you. She just said that she's a chef. You warmed up, okay, I got you. So she said she's a chef. I don't think you understand. Like you would just pass out when you taste her cooking. Like it's just amazing. Like the food that they make is just awesome.
God bless you.
You know, blessings to you. So Nicole, we said we were going to have this conversation about the importance of healing.
Yes.
And I think this is a very important conversation because I think this is something that most people really don't consider until it's too late.
Absolutely.
And somebody who's been diagnosed with PTSD, I can talk all about that.
Oh yeah.
But I think it's important that we and I just kind of exchange information when it comes down to it. So let's just kind of start this off with just talking about your journey when understanding what healing really was in your life, some of the things you need to heal from, so forth and so on. Just kind of take us on that walk, if you will.
So I didn't even realize that I needed the importance of needing to heal until probably 2020. I don't know if it was just kind of a coincidence that we had to sit still and a lot of reflection, just a lot of idle time. But I actually did counseling in 2020 because I was just in a place. So I was like, okay, maybe we need to kind of seek some help, which is not a bad thing. So often we feel like we can handle it, especially women of color. We have this stigma of being strong, or that we can take care of stuff. We're fixers, or that we don't need help. And so during one of my counseling sessions, my counselor, she kind of mentioned to me, well, it sounds to me like you have some areas that you haven't healed in, and kind of a light bulb went off. And so just to kind of rewind, I'm divorced, which is a loss. I've lost children, pregnancy losses, which is a loss. As a result of relationships that I've been in, being without a father growing up was a loss that I never really dealt with. And so all these things were just compiling, and I never really realized like why I had this pattern on different men that I met, or different friends that I entertained, even just plain regular pure friendships that I would take to heart and kind of hold on to, that weren't being reciprocated because of being hurt and not being healed and not being strong enough to let some things go, or ignoring the red flags in relationships and friendships. And so when she said that, it just kind of clicked like, okay, so maybe I need to heal. And then it's like, well, how do I heal? What am I supposed to do? I don't want to change who I am, because it's going to be someone who's going to appreciate this part of me. It's going to be someone who's going to recognize the goodness of my heart, or whatever the case may be. So how do we then heal from certain situations? And so that's what I've been working on probably about the last year, very diligently. It's like really learning to toughen my skin without hardening my heart. We'll just kind of learning different techniques and getting closer in my spiritual walk, because what you feed will grow. So as I'm feeding myself spiritually, that discernment kind of goes up. So those red flags are more prominent. Those hey, that was a boundary cross. It's okay to say no. All these things are becoming real. So they're manifesting these techniques on healing. So it is a journey. It is every day.
Yeah, so don't pay me no attention. I'm just taking notes because that was good. Toughen my skin without hardening my heart.
Absolutely.
I hope whoever is listening to this is taking notes as well because I'm really taking notes like this, and that was awesome.
Uh,
Yeah, so thank you for sharing that, and kudos to you. Hats off to you, because that is it's a very humbling thing. First of all, to understand that you need help, and you know. I don't know how it was when you was growing up, but so for a man, we were told that it's not good for us to cry. Don't cry. Get up, wipe it off. Clean your face. Stop crying. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. And so that follows us into adulthood. Um, and it's not like those people who told us that, like they intentionally meant us any harm. They was just trying to get us to toughen our skin. And ultimately, we took it as face value. And, so okay, stop crying. Crying isn't a good thing. But here it is now. What we find is that crying is not only a good thing, it's a purging thing. And so, yeah, when you look at stuff like this, I think it's awesome. And I think it's good for us to recognize that we need to heal. Sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees because we're in it. And it takes somebody on the outside to actually help us with those things. So I think that's amazing. And so you hit a number of different things, right? You hit, you divorce. So sometimes we run into that situation to where we feel like we failed, right? Not even realizing that the divorce is supposed to be two people working together. And if you cannot work together, some of the things we got to realize is that it's better to not be together so we can still be cordial, still be friends, especially if we have a child together, right? Absolutely. The child is the most important thing, not how I feel. If we can't make it, that's okay. Right. But at least let's still be cordial. Let's still be friendly toward one another, which is the definition of reconciliation, to make friendly again. Um, and I think sometimes what we feel is that reconciliation, like, let's go back and make it like it was. Well, one thing that we cannot do is erase without our experiences. So the past is the past, but we still have those same experiences. So that makes us a new person after the experience happens. I think this is huge, right? Because you've gotten to the point that you realize that because of some past experiences, divorce, father, children, things of that nature, well, I need to understand how to harmonize with those experiences so that they don't influence my future. Right. We learn from those experiences. And this is really good. Like, you gave us so much in the first, what is it? Has it been like 8 minutes? Like, you gave us so much in the short 8 minutes. Like, man, this could be just this. If I said the end, we're good.
the doors of the church are closed. I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. No, this is good. Really, it is. But I'm serious. I wrote that down, and I'm gonna put that someplace. Tough in my
what's
skin
the
without
real
hardening my
thing?
heart.
I
It is.
that I had an instructor, oh God, 25 years ago, that actually told me that. Even then, like I was 18, 19 years old, and she told me, she said, you need to learn how. So it didn't hit then. I got it, but I
Yeah,
didn't. So then, when my counselor mentioned it, she didn't phrase it the exact same way, but it just kind of came back up, and I said, I got it now.
yeah,
I've got it now. So yeah.
yeah. I think so this reminds me of something. I'm gonna reveal it later. I think the appropriate time is gonna come up to where I can reveal a very valuable lesson I learned from my grandmother. I did not understand what she was saying then, but now it makes so much sense. So all these little wise sayings that we got growing up, it's like now they're coming full circle and it clears them up. So so from a because you kind of gave yours, so we don't want to necessarily talk specifically about yours, but I know that from a generalized perspective, right, we all deal with certain traumas. And I know, and I'm just going to throw one out there right now. COVID-19, right? COVID-19 has traumatized America. We've seen how that happen. Every day the news has been putting out statistics about people dying, statistics of people who are contracting COVID, and there are certain changes that are in the atmosphere because of it. The one thing I don't necessarily like is they don't put the statistics of those people who've contracted COVID and overcame it, right? They need to put, I believe that the positive messaging should exist as well. So because of all of the negative messaging that exists around COVID, And, my heart goes out to anybody who's ever lost anybody from COVID, but that's a trauma within itself. So COVID has its own bubble of trauma that everybody can relate to. But when it comes down to trauma, what are some other sources of trauma that you think that we experience?
Again, just loss, loss and death, physical loss, rejection. So, with me, I kind of deal with like not separation anxiety, but just kind of a fear of rejection, which is also it could be very traumatizing. Like, for example, like if I have a friend or I'm dating someone and the friendship fails or it doesn't work out, it's devastating to me. And a lot of my friends were like, well, you didn't even know this person that long, or you didn't know, or whatever the case may be. And a lot of it is because, again, I have a nurturing spirit. And then I'm afraid, again, because of past traumas of like losing something. And so then what happens is I'm left with the spirit of rejection and the spirit of abandonment. So I'm having to heal all over again. So it's just kind of opening the wound. So it's not the actual act, because you're right. You shouldn't feel this way for knowing this person 6 months or knowing this person 8 months or a year, whatever. But it's still wounds that haven't healed from the past time or the last time that someone did something to hurt you or left. And now, boom, it's just scab. I kind of like to say that I never get to the complete heal. I kind of always pick at the scab, if you will.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that does make sense. And I think sometimes we try to rush ourselves through that process, like rush ourselves through healing. And let's be honest, there are some people, and I know this isn't you, right? But there are some people who never like put forth the effort to heal and try to jump right into something else. And that can be detrimental as well. So
those are strong people, and it's sad, but I even accused my family of this. I had a breaking point. I was like, I don't even think that you guys really care about me getting better. I just think that you want me to get better just so I can get back on my post. But tell the truth. Some people, bless their hearts, they're the backbone of their family. They're the rock of their family. And sometimes people and family members especially can be selfish and want this person to be better. Don't want them to be down. They care, but their intent is so that they can still be strong and be there for them, which is very, very, very crucial in healing too. You have to be ready.
Right.
But if you're strong, like, the saying, check on your happy friends, check on your strong friends. That's a real thing, because we put up this facade. We have to keep going because no one else is going to do this. No one else is going to do that. And so we kind of trick our minds into saying, okay, well, they're supporting me. They think that I've got it. So maybe I've got it. Then you find yourself having these little breaks or little break points or big breaking points. God forbid, suicide or something like that, because you're overwhelmed because you have not given yourself time to truly heal.
Yeah. Wow, that is so good. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And I think, coming from, not to harp on it, but coming from a military background, I can relate to that. Yeah. You have dealt with deployment and come back home, and then you just expect to fall back in place and just do the things that you normally do. And, none of that stuff ever happened. He's back. Everything is fine. He or she is back. I'm sorry. And everything is fine. And on the other side, civilian segment, dealing with having to lose somebody for a whole year on deployment. That's just as traumatizing as being over there. And it's just some of those things that we had never considered, because let's be honest, we were raised like our parents are phenomenal, but everybody has the kid in them, and everybody go through that child phase of this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. So we live in a world of me, right? That's really what it is. And somehow that kid in us follow us into adulthood, and at some point, we tend to try to make everything cater to what we want to a certain degree. And then we mature and then realize that may not necessarily be the right thing to do. And then we turn around and do just the opposite. So we start serving, we start helping, we start giving up our time and our efforts and our energy, and in some cases our resources. And unfortunately, everybody does not view that as, the way that we give it. They can start viewing it as their right, and they tend to take you for granted. So there's another form of
vampires.
Oh, wow.
Emotional
vampires. Okay. Yeah.
They suck us. They take. They take your good energy. They take your vulnerability, and then they can go do whatever they want to do, and they leave you drained. So
Yeah.
that's another kind of one of my things. Like, yeah, we have to stay away from emotional vampires. It's a real thing.
Is it possible that they don't know though?
I just think that they're just a lot. I think a lot of times we have them spoiled. Again, family members, close friends. We don't say
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
No doesn't hurt. We learned that as a child. Like, it does for stings for a little bit, but no is detrimental sometimes in healing. You have to say
Yeah.
no. Like,
Yeah.
no, I'm resting today. No, I cannot help you. Maybe
Yeah.
tomorrow. I mean, no is a real thing too. So
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of times it's intentional. They're just trying to drain you.
Right.
But again, they feed off of your goodness, or they feed off of the fact that they know that they can depend on you in spite of the
Right.
fact that, God forbid, you just went through whatever you went through, because you're, again,
Yeah.
a strong person. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. I just, and I think for me, I just want to believe that, well, I do believe that, there's goodness in everybody.
Oh
That's
yeah.
just what it is.
Mhm.
And I think for the most part, most people, I don't think it's intentional. I think sometimes they do it and don't even realize
Absolutely.
that if you really take a step back, you're really taking advantage of me. And you don't even understand that. And yeah. Uh, Here's another one, because I went through this for a while. So when I was young, I lost my grandfather.
Mhm.
And like my grandfather was like my father, like he was there every day. We really, I called him daddy,
Mhm.
and real close to him, loved him to death.
Mhm.
And when he passed, they called me. I was over at my cousin's house, and I want to say, I can't remember exactly how old I was, maybe 13, 14-ish, whatever. And when they called, I literally took off running and ran to the house. And it was probably about, I don't know, maybe a mile or so, but I was running. I wasn't going to stop till I got there.
Bless your
And
heart.
when I got there, everybody was there and lined up along the corridor. And I walked in the house and they saw me coming. So they kind of opened up. It just felt like everybody parted the way.
Mhm.
And when I walked in, I saw him laying across the bed. And he was an old veteran. Had a cane and had an amputated leg, and they had all of his medicines on the bed. And I still had that image in my head. And
Mhm.
it's been years that I would go and think about him, and it was very difficult for me to talk about that scene without shedding a tear.
Mhm.
Now I would say it took me maybe about 5 years ago before I could do that.
See?
And
Mhm.
yeah, exactly. And
Mhm.
it just I found that just talking about it, just talking about it with people that I know, love, and care about, who would actually
Absolutely.
listen, and not just brush it off. That's really what helped me in that scenario. So losing a loved one is definitely traumatizing. I think sometimes what we don't realize is that the grieving period for loss of a loved one is different from person to person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so we need to give people the necessary time that they need, not
Mhm.
that we think they need, right? That they need to heal,
Mhm.
and just be a supporting cast for them during that process.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. This is really good. So
Mhm.
trauma is definitely one of those things that we
Yeah.
should talk more about. Definitely.
Absolutely.
And
Mhm.
I love the fact that you brought the counseling into this, because we kind of have a stigma
Oh,
about counseling,
yeah.
right? Men don't want to look weak.
Mhm.
I had a great conversation with a real good friend of mine, retired sergeant major, and he dropped a bomb on me. Like he told me when he told me his story, and I was like, "Whoa!"
See,
Like you,
never
I was
know.
like, yeah, I was like you. So we started exchanging, our
Mhm.
stories back and forth, and I had to drink some water to stop from shedding a tear. It was that,
Mhm.
it was that
Before
significant.
you start.
Yeah.